Really serious and you're looking for a Christ man, the one who anointed with the Lord, with the Spirit of really serious and you're looking for a Christ man, the one who anointed with the Lord, with the Spirit of the Lord to do his will, I'm that nigga.
One West, 125th Street. Look, y'all put y'all faith in presidents like they gon' change this country. Run the league and let y'all play cause y'all gon' make a money. Fuck Obama, he ain't come here on cargo slave ship. What the fuck he do for blacks in his administration? I'm waiting, patient like a saint. Black, Hispanic, Native, they hate your ass the same. Paint Christ in they image, paint you as a slave. God ain't all love, scriptures say he hate. African soul niggas, they know we not the same. School to prison pipeline to get you off the streets. Put you in a cell toilet connected to the sink. Molested as a kid, she prostituted as a teen. The byproduct of Martin Luther King dream. They just took the yoke off, my nigga, we ain't free. We living bleak in these wastelands of poverty. If you don't know the truth, then the lie sound promising. Prophecy, gift and the curse. Dylan started killing, they was sitting in church. Black folk forgave him, man, this shit is absurd. You should never love your enemy, that shit ain't gon' work. Yeah, fuck dying on your knees, you better die in glory. Man, I joined the ISUPK, taught me the art of warring. I took a nigga life like mine to be recognized. I feel that pain every day, it can't be reconciled. Pops banging, my sister a prostitute. My brother got life, and somehow I still found the truth. War ready, no cowards, no excuse. Fuck reparations, you can't bandage no open wounds. Blood on the leaves, body swing hung from a noose. I was on a run in Nashville and I found the truth. I called the school, classes being held by the shock on my life. I want to be a gangster like a child. Do this for my brothers, real brotherhood. Everything we do, we got it out this book. My nigga, I can never be no African. ISUPK the only authorized acronym. I'm passionate about my brothers and sisters. We in hell, I ain't got nothing against them. That's another religion. If it ain't under your honor, ain't he murdered by them and got a hug from your honor. That's the way out for a coward in my observation. They don't fear the Lord, they indoctrinated. Wolves in sheep clothing, Joe Osteen. Real priest bringing back black royalty. One West on my headpiece, ranking order. Can't let them trick me off the streets, I gotta raise my daughter. I got brothers at the border ducking ice agents. I got the name change, it was life changing. My family thought it was a game, put on all black, they said I was going through a phase. It's more of us in jail than it was slaves. Chose by the Lord, we could never be the same. Soon as they born, the wicked go astray. They left the truth, they wasn't with us anyway. Niggas weak, they just saying anything to be truthful. We don't want no cowards anyway. Look, coronavirus, that's a plague. You don't get too much sleep when you waking up the dead. First camp, I cut off all my dreads. I took an oath when that oil hit my head. Niggas capping like they lids. I'm a priest, I never stick no fork in no pig. I was dead till I found out how to live. This brotherhood taught me how to be a man. I came back to my roots, I had to dig. A couple gaps I had to bridge. I got a rib, I'm married to this work. You wanna serve the Lord, he ain't in the Christian church. Came back to my roots, I had to dig. A couple gaps I had to bridge. I got a rib, I'm married to this work. You wanna serve the Lord, he ain't in the Christian church.
I promise you, this shit lit, cuz. This shit lit, alright? Run that joint.
Niggas looking for the light. Me and my niggas prepared for the dog. Yeah. So we gon' get it on for the last days, nigga. You already know what it is. 140 for the rubber.
They in the building, we in the spot. We can go to war and see who make it out.
Earn your stripes, dog. You with us or not? We can get it on when it's on. It don't never stop. First you get that power, gotta hold it down. Watch your step, boy. You on holy ground. They in the field, we in the spot. We can go to war, let's see who make it out. It's a problem, tell them pop off. I die for I let my colors fly, boy. For a nigga take me, they'll drop dead. AR, clean them up like a mop pig. Say he cool, he bad, he really so tough. They like, damn, look what he did to Billy Go rough. Little bitch think she Kiki Palmer, silly hoe. She know I'm that bull, but I ain't from Philly though. From the city where they say about that ribbon like petty poops. Know them niggas plotting, gotta deal with me. Can't catch me slipping, got to steal with me. Just left Alabama, bought a chopper from some hillbilly move. He made my feel the blade. Leave them all bruised, come through like a plague. Rebel off the leash like a dog out the cage. Call me Johnny Blaze on Run West May. Watch your step get stretched like a limousine. So my brother bring that blade back wet, that's my enemy. A little nigga, this that cult, need to talk. Niggas know I got blood in my cup, I just sip it like it's grenadine. They in the building, we in the spot. We can go to war, let's see who make it out. Earn your stripes, dog, you with us or not? We can get it on when it's on, it'll never stop. First you get that power, gotta hold it down. Watch your step, boy, you on holy ground. They in the build, we in the spot. We can go to war, let's see who make it out. Tell them niggas good night, here come the best. Look, told them niggas get right or get left. UPK bad man, I been to your flesh. Hellboy, rip the soul out of dead man shit. Got the rate, the power, I been the showstopper. Yeah, they might hate, but I know they gon' watch. Zone on lock, and you know the flow prop. Iced out, got the drip out of David Jones lock. Know I got the plan, they say that you the man. No shit, Sherlock, I'm the one you heard about. Burn down the building, let them all watch. Throw that one west up, then I swerve out. Sick with this shit, I do not need a detox. He don't watch a step, blow him out them Reeboks. We taking over, I'm sending the word out. Can't see me, little nigga, I put you in a bird box. Look, it's one West practical, gladiator, maximum. Creep on them slow, but that Glock fire rapid. All I want is more power, more straps to blow. Ain't got excuse for no car, he gon' have to go. They in the building, we in the spot. We can go to war, let's see who make it out. Earn your stripes, dog, you with us or not? We can get it on when it's on, it'll never stop. First you get that power, gotta hold it down. Watch your step, boy, you on holy ground. They in the building, we in the spot. We can go to war, let's see who make it out.
Right, clap it up. Shalom. Shalom. Yo, Bashim Yosha Brakadam to the brothers. Salakia. Wa Yo Shema Ladam Bashim sisters. We are the ISUPK, started out 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under the command of General Yohana.
That's right.
And we teach that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are the true people of the Bible, God's chosen people. It's the King James Version, 1611, the Holy Bible. Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians records. This aligns with archaeological records, historical records, and these are the biblical records, our records. Okay, what we've got going on in the school, we'll go through a couple of announcements of what we've got going on Monday to Sunday, Monday to Saturday, and then we'll go straight into tonight's class. Okay, so Monday night we've got the law class. All classes are streamed live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook from 7 till 9. Monday night is live in the school, so get yourself down to 394 Lodge Road, Hockley, Birmingham. Wednesday night, the Tuesday night is the Brotherhood class. It's not live in the school, it's streamed from Manchester. Wednesday night is the history class, streamed live in the school from 7 till 9. And streamed live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Thursday night is a scripture breakdown class. Again, live in the school. Class is held live in the school, 7 till 9. Friday night is Lashon Kodash. That's not in the school. That's you can see that streamed live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And Saturday morning we have Friday night Salakia. After the Lashon Kodash, we have a radio podcast called On the Ends. That's stream from 9 till 11. Saturday morning we have the Saturday morning Sabbath service in the school. The school's open from 10 to 11. Then from 12 to 5 we hit the street for street camp. 1 week every fortnight we're in Leicester City Centre, and then the opposite fortnight we're in Birmingham City Centre, the bottom of the Bull Ring. Okay, that's what we've got going on in the school. A lot going on. Okay, but without any further ado, we'll go straight into tonight's class because we're running a little late. Tonight's class is entitled The Letter of the Law. Okay, that title is going to be changed because the actual title is going to be should we enter the letter of the law or the spirit? That's the question. Can anybody in class tell me, or anybody in the stream, type in if you know the answer. Can anybody tell me what is the letter of the law? Mozart, do you want to have a bite at it?
Is that Moses' letters versus God's?
No, what is the letter of the law?
Letter.
When we say the letter of the law, what does it imply? What does it mean? What's the definition of the letter of the law?
Well, nobody put it like that. But as I said,
Sorry, Salakia, say that again.
I've never heard anybody put it that way. The letter of the law.
It's taught throughout the UPK, throughout ISUPK. Yeah, the letter of the law is the law down to the T, being very strict with it, no room for maneuver, as opposed to the spirit of the law. So if the letter of the law is very strict and disciplined and no room for any leeway or maneuvering, what do you think would be the spirit of the law? And who brought the spirit of the law? Let's not forget, the letter of the law always is and always was. The letter of the law won't change. You must keep the law. The letter of the law is real and it counts still to this day. But today we have a new way of keeping the letter of the law. And who taught us that way?
Moses.
No, the Moses taught us the letter of the law.
Christ.
In the days of foretime.
Yahushai.
And what did
He brought his
Yahushai
spirit.
teach? Okay, Jesus, yeah, Yahushai. And what did Yahushai teach us?
That we are not supposed to be afraid of the law, but just because it's not here to harm.
But what did he bring? I'm looking for a specific term.
He brings us like a spiritual awakening to
He
us.
brought us the spirit of the law.
Mhm.
So on one hand, we have the letter of the law, and on the other hand, we have the spirit of the law. But let's not get it confused. The spirit of the law doesn't oppose the letter of the law. The spirit of the law doesn't go against the letter of the law. What do you think the spirit of the law does?
The spirit, the spirit and it is life. It brings you like a spiritual awakening from your whole way of seeing the law. Because you always look at the law as like, oh, if I break this, I might just die. But Christ brings you kind of renewing that look. You can be forgiven.
Yeah, you're on the right track. Yeah, I wouldn't say you're wrong, but the spirit of the law enhances the letter of the law. So on one hand, we have we'd have, for example, Moses or Jeremiah or Joshua teaching the letter of the law. You could commit adultery, you get tied to a tree on the hill and stoned to death. You break the Sabbath, you do this, you do that, you get judgment and punishment to the highest degree, the highest punishment that offense carries in that time. And throughout the eras before time, because we know now the biblical law, nobody's living by it. Our people are not living by it. The only people today that are living by the letter of the law are in the ISUPK under the command of General Yohanna. Okay, so now the spirit of the law, and this is one of the main reasons why Christ came, why the Most High God sent his only begotten Son, because we couldn't cope, deal, or keep the letter of the law. So Christ brought the letter of the law to teach us it in a different way, with a different style, with his twist to it. And did it change? No, it never. Did it bend? Did it swerve? No, it never. Christ enhanced the letter of the law through the Spirit. By keeping, he taught us the spirit of the law, which all it did was enhance the letter of the law. Let's start off with Romans. Give me Romans 7 and 6, Baba Kashar. Let's kickstart tonight's class with the records of Paul. Start with Romans 7 and 6. Because what Paul did, Paul came along and he enhanced what Christ enhanced through the Spirit. So Paul, and this is where Christians get it wrong in that Christian church. This is where your pastor gets it wrong. The pastors will teach you that Paul's teaching a completely different thing and off topic. But all Paul was teaching was what he'd learned from Christ. Did he teach it with his mannerism? Yes, he did. But what he was teaching was what he learned from Christ. He didn't start making up doctrine like your pastor does in the Christian church and splurting out all kinds of nonsense to our people. And let's see what Paul said about the spirit of the law. Romans 7 to 6, Baba Kasha.
The book of Romans 7 verse 6. But now we are delivered from the law.
Now we are what?
Delivered from the law.
Read.
That being dead, wherein we were held, that we should serve in newness of spirit and not in the oldness of the letter.
Okay, so there you have it. So Paul says we need not fear the law any longer. Your pastor goes as far as to push that here Paul means he's telling you keeping the law is a sin. The pastor breaks this precept down by saying Paul's saying the law is a sin. Read it again. Let's get the real breakdown of what Paul's talking about here.
Verse 6. But now we are delivered from the law, that being dead, wherein we were held.
So if what the Christian pastor says is we're being dead, meaning the law is dead. We know that's not what Paul's talking about here. Paul's saying that you don't need to fear the law. You don't need to fear the law, not the letter of the law. He goes on to talk about the spirit of the law. Read on.
Okay. And not in the oldness of the letter.
No, that we should.
Okay, verse 6. That we should serve in the newness of spirit.
That we should serve in the newness of spirit. So the letter being dead can be realived again through the spirit. So not to say that the letter of the law is dead, or like your Christian pastor pushes, it is a sin to keep the law. I've heard this from the Christian pastors. The Christian pastors will say, well, eating eating pork, not eating pork is sinful. Christ died so that we can eat pork. But the letter of the law and the spirit of the law begs to differ. It don't even beg to differ. It disagrees. Because that's total nonsense what your Christian pastor's teaching. That keeping the law is a sin. But that's what they're trying to push. That's the narrative they're pushing here with the records of Paul. They're saying that he's saying that it's sinful to keep the law, when in actual fact, he's saying the deadness of the letter is realived through the spirit. So all the spirit does is enhance the letter of the law. And this is what Christ pushed on our people. This is what Christ came to do, to teach us not to hate the law, not to fear the law like we did under Moses, but to love it through the spirit. Keep the law. Christ taught us to keep the letter of the law in the right spirit. Do you follow that?
Fine.
Okay, so if we kept the law in the right spirit, we would learn to love it and not fear it. And that's the difference to what you're learning up in that Christian church. What you're learning up in that Christian church is not biblical. It's not in our records. Okay, verse 7, Bible Shop.
Okay. Verse 7. What shall we say then? Is the law sin?
Okay, so what shall we say then, Paul says? Is the law sin? Is the law bad? Is it unrighteous? Is it not good? Read on.
Okay. God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin but by the law.
Okay, so Paul says without the law, he wouldn't know that it was wrong to commit adultery, wrong to eat pork, shrimp, crab, lobster, wrong to not observe the holy feast days, the high holy Sabbath, the holy convocations that we keep today. Still today, we still keep because we keep the law, statutes, and commandments. This is what General Yohannes taught us. He's pushed on us, and that's what we keep here in the UPK. This is the home of the truth. And if you're in that Christian church, you don't have the truth. That's the bottom line, because they're teaching something that's not in our records. They're teaching the records of Paul, because you know how Christians love to harp on about the New Testament. The old is done away with, and this is the new. Well, they don't understand the new. If they did understand the new, they'd understand that Paul is pushing the law. God, he says, God forbid. Is the law, should we say the law sin? Read that again, Bible Shop, verse 7.
Verse 7. What shall we say then? Is the law sin?
Okay, so Paul says, what should we say then? God forbid. Is the law sin? He's saying it in a mannerism like you don't understand in that Christian church. You can't fathom or grasp this concept that Paul's bringing and teaching, because God forbid it's a terminology that fits that fits the enhancement of the law. He's saying, God forbid, without sin, he wouldn't know right from wrong. Do we all follow this? Read that again, Baba Kashar.
Verse 7. What shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin but by the law. For I had not known lust, except the law had said, thou shalt not covet.
Okay, so there you go. Paul would not know right from wrong if it wasn't for the law. And he's enhancing the letter of the law through what Christ taught us, the spirit of the law. Get me 2 Corinthians 3 and 6, Bible Kashar. And this is what the Christian pastor misses out on. This is what the Christian pastor doesn't push. But he pushes a narrative that teaches our people to break the law. And that's why our communities are in such a mess. That's why, as a people, we're down and out. That's why, as a nation, we cannot get it together. because we were in that church listening to the nonsense that the nonsensical narratives that the Christian pastors push on our people, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You got something for us, Mozart?
No, I'm trying to the scripture. 1 Corinthians.
2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians 3 and 6. Baba Kashar. Give me a shout when you get there. You got it? We'll read that, Baba Kashar.
2 Corinthians 3, verse 6. Who also hath made us able ministers of New Testament, of the New Testament, not of the letter.
Okay, so who had made us able ministers of the New Testament? Christians believe in the New Testament, or so they tell us. So why don't they believe in this? Why don't they believe in the records of Paul? Why have they got their own doctrine? Why have they got their own narratives that they push on our people? Why don't they stick to the letter of our records, like how we stick to the letter of the law through the spirit of the law? So what we don't want you to believe in is that in some way the spirit of the law cancels out the letter of the law. That's not what Christ taught, and that's not what's in our records. The letter of the law versus the spirit of the law, or the letter of the law opposing the spirit of the law. Because the letter of the law was perfect, but we was not perfect. And we couldn't keep the letter of the law. We struggled with it. We wrestled with it. We fought it, feared it, ran from it. And ultimately we couldn't keep it, the letter of the law. It was too daunting for us. And the Most High God is so great. He knew this. He knew the burden that was on his people, but he also knew the letter of the law was perfect. So the Most High God did what? What did he do? Can anybody tell me what the Most High God did with the letter of the law? He sent his only begotten Son back to teach it us through a different way, the spirit of the law, which ultimately ended up enhancing the letter of the law. Do we all get this? Do we all follow this? Is there any questions?
No.
Okay, read on. Baba Kishore.
Verse 7. Not of the letter, but of the spirit, for the letter killeth.
Not what?
Not of the letter.
Okay, this is still verse 6. So go to the top and start verse 6 again. You're halfway through verse 6 there. Yeah, we're not going into verse 7.
Who also hath made us able ministers of the New Testament, not of the letter, but of the spirit. For the letter killeth, but the spirit giveth life. Okay,
and literally, the letter of the law, if you broke it, you would die. The spirit showed a little mercy, and that's what Christ done. But this isn't necessarily talking literally. Read that again, Baba Shah.
Verse 6. Who also hath made us able ministers of the New Testament, and not of the letter, but of the spirit, for the letter killeth, but the spirit giveth life.
The water. You see, Christ taught us to love and adore the law through the spirit, not through the letter. So we could crave brotherhood. So through the spirit, we crave brotherhood. Especially, can you imagine, especially at the feast days, at holy convocations, through the spirit of the law, we was all coming together, and it was a time of party, time of feast, time of worship, time of praise. It was an amazing time for us through the spirit. But some people through the letter would have felt pressured. Do you see this, Mozart?
Wow.
Pressured to keep this. Oh, the Sabbath is 52 times a year. I need eggs. I need eggs for my chickens on the Sabbath.
Wow.
I need I need milk from my cows on the Sabbath. I need this, I need that. And we know that no servile work should be done on the Sabbath. We know that even your livestock got to rest on the Sabbath. Do we understand this, Mozart? Read that again, Bob Shaw. Read that again, Mozart.
Verse 6, who also hath made us able ministers of the New Testament, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life.
So the letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life. Brotherhood. Okay, so we was not... The main thing, Christ didn't want us to see the law as a burden. And through the letter of the law, we saw it as a burden. Through the spirit of the law, we saw brotherhood. Christ taught us brotherhood. Yeah, and we crave that brotherhood. We crave loving the feast days, the Sabbath. You know, all these things that we feared. We feared under Moses. We feared breaking the law under Moses. That was the letter of the law, and that's the difference. That's the only divide between the two, the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. And if we can understand this and grasp this, then we'll start to understand that the spirit of the law actually enhances the letter of the law, because the spirit of the law is making us keep. The spirit of the law is making us keep, or helping us to keep, the letter of the law. Do we all follow this? Okay, drop that. Get me Romans 7 and 12, Barbara Kishar. Let's fly through these scriptures tonight. If you ain't got it, I can read it.
Romans 7.
7 and 12.
Romans 7 verse 12. The book of Romans 7 verse 12. Wherefore the law is holy.
Wherefore what?
The law is holy.
Wherefore what?
The law is holy.
And what does holy mean?
Separate.
Separate. So here, Paul's telling us the law is separate. The law is separate to what man is doing or believes in, the Gentiles, the heathens, because only the Israelites were keeping the law. And there was plenty of Gentiles amongst us that didn't believe in the law and wasn't keeping it. Read on.
Okay. And the commandment holy and just and good.
So the law is separate to all things. It is righteous. And this is how we come back to our Father. How do we come back to our Father?
By keeping the law.
By keeping the law. Read on.
Okay. Verse 13. Was then that which is good made death unto me?
Made death unto me. Okay, go back and read verse 12.
Verse 12. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandments holy, and just and good.
Okay, just and good. So without the law, we'll forever be in the wilderness. We'll be forever scattered. We'll be ever without a land, a language, our real names, our understanding. We'll be without our Father. Do we all follow this? Without the law, what would we be?
Some wild people.
We'd be nothing but spittle. That's what we'd be. We'd be absolutely nothing but spit on the ground. That's what we are without the law. So that's what we are in that Christian church and in the mosque and Rastafarianism and all these other denominations that our people are lost in. We're spit on the ground. And look, there's people in the streams, people watching this, Rastafarians, Muslims, Christians that are of the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, saying, who the hell is this nigger? Salakia, I'm not sure if I could say, who the hell is this Negro online telling us we're spit? But let's, when we strip it down, the bare truth. If you're in Rastafarianism, Christianity, or Islam, and you're black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, you're spit. You're nothing but spittle, accord. You're nothing but spit on the ground because you don't have the truth. And God is not with you. Is this what you want? Is this what our people really want and crave? Because if that's what you want and crave, stay where you are. You're no use in here. This is the home of the truth. We are the ISUPK under the command of General Yahana. We do this because we love our people. We don't do this to hurt our people. We don't do this to put our people down. That's first and foremost. We do this because we want to save as many of our people as humanly possible. We teach the truth. We're not going to stand around and teach you stuff that's not in our records. We're not going to teach you stuff that's not in the law. We're not going to teach you to be like everybody else. We're going to teach you to be holy, to be separate, to know who you are, to come back to the Most High God, to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, to be righteous, to be right in all things that you do. That's our job. That's what we do. And we do this on a daily basis. We're not here to tell you no nonsense or rubbish. And do you know why our people in Rastafarianism, Christianity, and Islam are hurt when they hear the truth? Because the truth cuts like a knife. Do you know that? When you hear me say that you're not worth nothing but spit, that is the truth, because you're in a lie. You're in a man-made religion. You're in a denomination that is not in our records. And that's the bottom line here. That's what we're looking at. You are not in the truth. And when you hear the truth, it's unrecognizable to you because you've been raised in a doctrine like we all were raised in, which is called a lie. Okay, and we was led into that lie by Satan, who deceived us. And you're still following that deception to this day. And that is why we do this. This is why we're here every Monday, pushing the laws, statutes, and commandments on our people so that you can know the truth, know who you are, and come back to the Most High God.
That's right.
That's why we do this. We don't do this to hurt our people. Give me Matthew 22 and 35, Baba Kashar. Salakia, give me Galatians. Give me Galatians. Let's go to Galatians.
Galatians.
Oh, Galatians 3 and 24, I believe. Galatians 3. Yeah, verse 24. Wherefore the law.
The book of Galatians 3, verse 24. Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster.
Was what?
The law was our schoolmaster.
Without the law, we would never have known or understood our king. And who was our king? Hamashiach Yahushai, which means, Hamashiach means in the English, the anointed. Yahushai being his name, what his parents called him. And you don't hear that in the Christian church. They've called him Jesus Christ, which is a Greek name. We've only had the letter J for 250 years. Think about that. Okay? We call him Jesus so that you know exactly who we're talking about. But his real name was Yahushai. And they don't teach you this in the Christian church because your pastor, your black, Hispanic, or Native American pastor doesn't know his own language, his own tongue, Lashon Kodash, the Hebrew text. Our records was not recorded in English. It was translated into English. We've only had the letter J for 250 years. So his real name, like the narrative you push in that Christian church, it was Jesus. Well, was Jesus a Greek? He was an Israelite. He lived in the land of Israel. The furthest place Christ ever went was Antioch, Egypt. Antioch being a city in the coast of Israel, but he went to Egypt. That's the furthest Christ went. Christ never came to Europe. There's no records of him coming to Europe.
That's right.
His name, he didn't have a European name. He had a Hebrew name. He had Hebrew parents. And his Hebrew name was Yahushua, and Hamashiach means the anointed one, and Yahushua is his name. Read that again from the top, Baba, for sure.
Verse 24. Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ.
To bring us unto Hamashiach, Christ, the anointed one. Read.
That we might be justified by faith.
That we might what?
Be justified by faith.
But we might be justified by the letter.
Be justified by faith.
Justified by faith. By faith. So let's break this down. Without the law, we would never have known or understood our King. In fact, many of us never understood him and still don't to this day. And that's obvious when you sit up in that Christian church listening to the pastor's narratives and his breakdowns. And you can see that everything he talks is of his own heart and in his own mind. It's his own opinion. And guess what? The Most High God doesn't give a damn about your pastor's opinion. The Most High God gives a damn about the records, his oracles. That's why we have these records. We have these records for a reason. They ain't nothing to play with. But we play with this in that Christian church. And we definitely play with this in any religion we're involved in. And these records are nothing to play with. Let me tell you now, they're nothing to play with. Putting our faith in the law was how we trusted in what Christ was teaching us. Do we understand this?
Right.
Read that again, Bob Kashar.
Galatians 3 verse 24. Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ.
Okay, so the law was our schoolmaster. It drew us near, drew us nigh to Christ. Read.
Come. That we might be justified by law.
By faith.
By law.
No, by faith. It don't say law. Read it again.
By faith.
Read that last part.
Come. That we might be justified by faith.
That we might be justified by faith. Okay, so putting our faith in the law, this is the breakdown of this. Putting our faith in the law is what brought us close to Christ. It gave us that instinct to trust in what Christ was teaching us. Do we all follow and all understand this? Is there any questions? Get me Matthew 22 and 35, Baba Kashar. Book of Matthew 22, we'll start at verse 35.
The book of Matthew 22, verse 35. Then one of them.
Hold on. Salakia, my bad. Okay, so what we're looking at, one of them which was a lawyer. Okay, this is one of the Pharisee lawyers. Let's see what this is. One of the classic. We're going to show you we're going to show you the combination, the combining of the letter and the spirit. Here in these precepts, in this passage here, we've got a Pharisee who's a lawyer, a Pharisee lawyer, or he's a scribe lawyer. We'll read about it and get to that. He's a lawyer of the Pharisees or the scribes or the Sadducees. I think he's a Pharisee. He might be a Sadducee lawyer. Okay, we'll get to him. And he tempts Christ. You know, the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the scribes are always trying to test our king. They was always trying to trick him up. But he was too cute for them. He was too smart for them. He was too sharp for them. And most of the time he left them riddled and puddled. And they knew they came to confound Christ, and all they did was drown in their own words and their own strictness that they pushed and couldn't keep themselves. These Sadducees, Pharisees, and scribes were hypocrites, and today their spirit is in the Christian church. Today their same spirit is in the Islamic mosque. And today their same spirit is in our Rastafarian elders. All these religions where you find our people, blacks, Hispanics, and native Indians, they are the Pharisees, they are the Sadducees, they are the scribes that are pushing narratives that are not in our records on our people.
That's right.
Okay, so let's get down to it. Verse 35, Bob.
So Matthew 22, verse 35. One of them, which was a lawyer, asked him.
Yeah, then one of them, read.
Then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him questions, tempting him, and saying, Master, which is the greater commandment in the law?
Okay, so this is a Pharisee lawyer who thinks he's smarter than Christ, okay? He thinks he's smarter than Christ. But Christ shuts him down. Let's see how Christ shuts him down. Read on.
Okay.
He asks Christ, what does he ask Christ? He asks Christ, which is the great commandment in the law? Which is numero uno? Which is the greatest law of all 613? Read.
Okay. Verse 37. Yahushua answered unto him. Yahushua said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart.
So Christ utters the most important law, that you shall love God with all your heart. Read.
Okay. And with all your soul.
And
with all your mind.
Verse 38.
This is the first and great commandment.
So Christ says this is the first and great commandment. You see, if it was down to the Pharisees and the Sadducees, everyone that broke the law would be beheaded. Everyone that broke the law would be tied to a tree on top of the hill and stoned to death. Read on.
Okay, verse 39. And the second is like unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Read verse 40 for me, Baba.
Okay, verse 40. And those are the commandments.
These. Let me get it. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Okay, so what's Christ talking about here? On these two are the greatest laws in all 613 laws. The Pharisees have asked him, the Pharisee lawyer asked Christ, which are the two greatest laws? And he tells them, he answers them, they're thinking they're trying to trick Christ up and have Christ up. And they can't do that because Christ is way too sharp and way too witty for them. Christ answers them. And Christ knows that these Pharisees and Sadducees and scribes, they want everybody to keep the letter of the law. But they don't care how you keep the letter of the law. They don't care if you keep it in the wrong spirit. You see that? As long as you keep it. But Christ's problem was always the same problem with our council, with our government, with these Pharisees and Sadducees and these scribes, is that they pushed the law so vehemently, so vigorously, so intentionally, but they were hypocrites. They could never keep the law. They was good at teaching the law. They wasn't good at keeping the law.
That's right.
And that's one of the first things Christ noticed. Christ was a master tactician when it came to teaching the law. And the Pharisees, Sadducees, and scribes just couldn't manage him. They just could not cope with him. He was too much for them, way too much. They could not cope with Christ. And if he came here today, these Christian pastors couldn't cope with him. You Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians in the mosque, in Rastafarianism, could not cope with what Christ would be cutting you with. He'd be cutting you up, slicing and dicing with a doctrine you just could not fathom, with parables you could not grasp. You just wouldn't get it. And that's why you push the narratives you push on our people today. But it's wrong. It's not in our records, and it's wrong, and it's false. And you are the false prophets the Bible talk about. You are the false prophets the Bible talks about. Our Christian pastors, the imams, the Rastafarian elders, they don't have the truth. And they're not teaching what Christ taught, that's for sure. And like we said, these records are so important. We have these records for a reason. And that reason is so that these pastors cannot trick our people. They cannot trick the priests and the prophets in the ISUPK under the command of General Yohana. That's damn sure. That's for damn sure. Give me John 8 and 7, Baba Kishar. Christ muffled, absolutely muffled the Pharisees. They didn't know whether they was going left from right when they was debating or conversing with Christ. Time and time again.
Okay. The book of John 8 verse 7. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her.
Okay, so when they continued asking him, so here the Pharisees have brought an adulterous woman to Christ and threw her down at his feet on the ground and said, look, Christ, here's an adulterous woman. What should we do with her? Read that again, Baba Kishar.
Okay. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, He that is without sin among you, let him cast a stone at her.
Okay, so the spirit of the law is the very thing that encourages you to keep it by the letter, to keep it by the letter. And we're going to see the examples right here in John, because John recorded all of this, what Christ spoke about. Remember, John was one of the apostles. He followed Christ everywhere. Okay, and this is why we tell you again and again and again, we have these records for a reason. And this is beautiful, these precepts here, because what John's talking about is a perfect illustration of the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. And the Pharisees trying to push the narrative of the letter, and Christ counteracting them with the spirit. And watch what happens, because this is not, first and foremost, this is not a choice. This is not an opposing or a choice between the letter and the spirit, but a demonstration of how, without possessing the spirit of the law, you can prove that our Father, okay, let me word this carefully. We're not splitting the letter from the spirit, but we must prove to our Father that we can keep the letter of the law through the spirit of the law. Does everybody get that? Does everybody understand this? Over time had over time, we'd proven that we couldn't keep the letter of the law. So this is something that was needed. So when Christ came and taught us the spirit of the law, he came at the right time when we was wicked as hell. We were lost, just like we are today. Today we're probably peaked. We're probably at our worst. We don't know our language. We don't know where we came from. We believe we're African. We believe we're a byword. We speak all kinds of different languages: Portuguese, French, Spanish, Patois, English, broken English, African languages, all kinds of European languages and nonsense that don't belong to us. You know, we've hit an all-time low, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. We have hit an all-time low. And Christ brought the spirit of the law then, in that era, 2,000 years ago, approximately, and he's to save us. And he's still saving us now through the spirit of the law. That's what he died for. He died to give us this grace period. And we're supposed to use the spirit of the law to make the most out of our grace.
That's right.
And what do? We stand up in that Christian church and listen to nonsense. We pay our tithes to a pastor that goes out and buys a jet, a Rolls Royce, and 6 tropical holidays a year.
Expensive Rolex. When
you should be paying tithes in the ISUPK under the command of General Yohana. That's where you'll see your money go to a righteous cause. That's how you will see your money go to a place that will bring you closer to the Most High God, closer to the truth, closer to your culture and traditions and who you really are. You're never going to get that in that Christian church. I mean, come on. Who are you trying to fool? Salakia, where was we? I got carried away there.
We just finished reading verse 7.
Verse 7. Okay, so here in the records of John, the Pharisees are trying to apply the letter of the law when they themselves are operating outside of the spirit of the law, which Christ demonstrates in layman's terms. Quite simple and black and white. Christ demonstrates it and confounds them. And we're going to read about it here, right here. Jump back to verse 1, Baba Kashot.
The book of John 8, verse 1. Jesus went unto the Mount of Olives.
Okay, so Jesus went into the Mount of Olives. Verse 2, read.
Verse 2. And early in the morning, he came again into the temple.
So Jesus in the morning came again into the temple. Why?
And all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them.
So he came to the temple to teach. Verse 4, read.
Verse 4.
Slakia, verse 3.
And as the scribes and Pharisees
and the scribes
and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery.
So here's the woman that had committed adultery, and the scribes and the Pharisees brought this adulterous woman to Christ to see if they could catch him out, to see if they could trick him, to see if they could get him to say she shouldn't face capital punishment. Read.
Okay. And when they had set her in the midst, verse 4, they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery, in the very act.
There you go. So she was an adulteress. This is the perfect example of the letter of the law in comparison to the spirit of the law. Read on.
Okay. Verse 5. Now Moses in the law.
Now who?
Moses in the law.
Who the Pharisees and the scribes believed in vigorously. They always pushed the law of Moses. They always taught, this is what Moses said. This is what Moses told us we should do. This is the records of Moses. And it was all in the letter of the law. Read. which, by the way, we've proved over time and time again, we couldn't keep. We wasn't good enough to keep the letter of the law. We was good enough, but we didn't know how. We needed something more to get us in that zone where we was keeping the letter of the law. And that's where Jesus came into it. Read.
No, Moses in the law command us that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou? Verse 6.
Okay, so verse 5. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. So he's saying the adulterers, these Pharisees are telling Jesus, Moses taught us that such a woman should be stoned to death. She should face capital punishment. She should be killed, murdered, obliterated, die. She shouldn't exist anymore. Read on.
Verse 6. This they said, tempting him.
There you go. There you go. They're trying to bait Christ into doing or saying something that they believe will prove Christ is a lawbreaker. Read.
That they might have to accuse him.
That they might stand. They want to prosecute Christ. They want to drag him in court and put the CPS, set the CPS on him and hang him out to dry. Read.
But Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground, as though he had them not.
Okay, let me read it. This they said, tempting him that they might have to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground as though he heard them not. So Jesus is as cool as a cucumber. They're trying to tempt him. They're trying to get him to say disagree with them that the woman shouldn't be stoned to death, shouldn't face capital punishment, so that they could accuse him of being a lawbreaker and they could put Christ to death. That's what this is all about. Verse 7 we've just read. So let's jump to John 8 and 8. Let's see how Christ handles these Pharisees and scribes.
The book of John 8 verse 8. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground.
So as cool as a cucumber, Christ just blanks them. He gives them blank check. He ignores them. He knows they're there. They know that he knows they're there. But they're there to hackle him. Christ stays calm and cool and acts like he hasn't got a care in the world. He's way too calm for their liking. They don't understand his body language or his temperament. Read.
And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one.
Order, Salakia. We've missed the piece. 7. Oh, go back and read verse 7, Bible.
Verse 7. So when they continued asking him.
So here the Pharisees keep hackling him. They want an answer from Christ. They're asking him again and again and again. Remember, Christ has stooped down and ignored them and started writing something in the ground with his finger, nonchalantly, like they don't matter. They don't concern him. Read on.
He lifted up himself and said unto them.
So here we have red writing. This is Christ, and this is how he answers the Pharisees and scribes. Read.
That which is without he that which is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone.
Okay, so Christ says, answers the Pharisees. He says, he that is without sin among you, let him cast a stone at her. So he's telling them, which one of you are without, you lot want to condemn this adulterous woman, which is right. She should be condemned. She's an adulteress. But which one of you, and this is where the spirit of the law gets introduced. This is what the Pharisees couldn't grasp or understand. They wasn't prepared for this. They wasn't prepared or ready for what Christ was about to throw at them. And Christ says to them, which one of you have never sinned? Which one of you have never broken the law? Cast the first stone at this adulterous woman. She's a sinner. Any one of you that is not a sinner deserves to stone her to death. The Pharisees stood up and are looking around at each other, scratching their heads. They don't know what to make of this. They've never heard our doctrine taught like this. They certainly didn't hear it. Their fathers didn't hear it, and grandfathers didn't hear it from Moses. But here we have Christ, Jesus the Christ, Hamashiach Yahushua, God's only begotten Son, bamboozling the Pharisees and the scribes with terminology and wording and the doctrine they cannot fathom or comprehend. It's just too much. It's like their heads are exploding. It's like their heads are exploding. Read that again, Baba Kashar.
Verse 7. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, he that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her.
Okay, so and here's Christ introducing the spirit of the law, and the spirit of Christ far outweighed the letter of the law, the way the Pharisees brought it, the way the Pharisees and the scribes brought it, it just condemned everybody. The letter of the law condemned everybody, all of us. In essence, Christ was saying, here's your second chance. He's about to say, here's your second chance to the woman. The Pharisees have already had their second chance because they're sinners. They've sinned and they've not been stoned to death. They've not had their heads chopped off. They're standing in front of this woman in the temple with their righteous, self-righteous selves, talking about, we should kill her, Christ. Shouldn't we kill her? What do you say? What do you say, Christ? That's how they've come at him. And he completely confounds them with a doctrine they can't understand. And that doctrine is a doctrine of mercy. Do we all follow this? Because ultimately Christ is showing the woman mercy. Let's see what Christ goes on to tell the woman. And the Pharisees. Read verse 8.
Verse 8. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. Verse 9.
Come.
And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience.
So here they was convicted by their own conscience. These Pharisees and scribes knew they hadn't observed the Sabbath, knew that they had traded on the Sabbath, knew that they'd ate pork and smoked tobacco, knew that some of them was drinking heavily and defiling their temples. These scribes and these Pharisees knew that they'd committed adultery more than likely themselves and slept with one of their brother's wives. And here they were with their self-righteous selves telling Christ, what should we do with this adulteress? Christ knew that they were living in sin, and Christ put it on their toes. Christ told them, which one of you have without sin cast the first stone? Kill her. By all means, you're worthy enough to kill her if you're living without sin. Guess what? Christ was the only one there in that temple that was without sin. Certainly not the Pharisees, and certainly not the scribes, and certainly not your pastors.
That's right.
Read on.
beginning at the eldest, even unto the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst.
So they've all dropped their rocks and they left, starting from the eldest of the Pharisees down to the last. Till Jesus and the woman, the adulterous woman, were left alone. Just her and Christ, our King. Read verse 10.
Verse 10. When Jesus had lifted up himself and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, where are those thine accusers? Hath no man condemned thee? She said, No man, Lord. And Jesus said unto her, Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more.
So Christ in essence was saying, here's your second chance. Use it and don't mess up. He told the woman, all your accusers, the woman, he asked the adulteress, where's your accusers? Where's these Pharisees and scribes that wanted to kill you, wanted to put you in the electric chair? The woman said, they've all bolted, Master. They've all gone. They've all ran away. Because their conscience kicked in and they all knew that they had sinned themselves. Some of them had sinned so badly, some of them were so wicked, they knew they deserved to be stoned to death. So who were they to stone this woman to death? But through the spirit of the law, they wanted Christ to agree with them and keep the letter of the law. But if the letter of the law was good enough for the adulterous woman, why wasn't the letter of the law good enough for them? But Christ came with the spirit of the law, showed the woman mercy and told her, don't you get caught doing this sin again. You've done it once, don't come before me again with this nonsense. Christ will not save her the second time. And that is the spirit of the law. And that is what enhances the letter of the law, because the chances are, and we don't have the records of it, but I'll bet you this woman never committed adultery again after seeing what Christ did for her this day. And that's my theory on it, because there is no records of whether the woman committed adultery again. But Christ was a powerful man. And the Pharisees knew that. And that's why they wanted him unalived. That's why they wanted him captured by the Roman soldiers and killed. That's why they was constantly testing Christ, because he was so powerful spiritually. They couldn't cope with him. They could not cope with him. Get me Matthew 7:1, Baba Kishore. Could not cope with what Christ taught, the spirit of the law. Is there any questions online? Any questions in class? Okay, where are we? 7:1? Matthew 7:1. Okay, get that, Bible.
The book of Matthew 7 verse 1. Judge not, that ye be not judged.
There you go. Judge not, that ye be not judged. A perfect example of Christ and the Pharisees again. These Pharisees wanted to judge through the letter of the law. Christ confounded them and counted their judgment of the adulterous woman through the letter of the law with the spirit of the law. It doesn't mean you can break the law. Keeping the spirit of the law doesn't mean you can go willy-nilly and do what the hell you want to do. That's not the spirit of the law. The spirit of the law makes you keep the law. The spirit of the law makes you love the law. The spirit of the law enhances the letter of the law. And the spirit of the law makes you run towards the law, as opposed to keeping it back through running away from it and hiding from it. Something you don't have to face, you might not have to keep. But something that you love will be all over you all the time. That's the difference. Salakia, verse 2, Bible Kishore.
Okay. Verse 2. For with what judgment he judged, he shall be judged. And with what measures he
Meet.
sorry. And with what he meet, it shall be measured to you again.
Okay, so verse 2, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. What does that mean? This is exactly what Christ just told the Pharisees. Before you point the finger, make sure your shed is in order. Make sure you've made your bed. Don't be coming round here telling people to go and tidy their beds and your bed's all scruffy and all over the place. Who the hell do you think you are? And that was the story and the life of the Pharisees. They was pushing their narratives. They was pushing the letter of the law. But they were hypocrites. They couldn't keep the letter of the law. Do we all follow this? Before you point the finger, make sure your shed is in order. Make sure your bed is made. Do you know why? There will be no hypocrites in the kingdom of heaven.
That's right.
And these Pharisees were hypocrites. Did you have something to add, Moses? I thought you were going to say something.
That's a powerful point. Number one, and the way the way Yahushua demonstrated and said, look, I'm going to be silent. What have I said to you a while ago? Search your conscience and let me see which one are you confident enough. Because I know that you all are sinners and guilty of things, but yet still you're ready to judge. And when you're to condemn this woman to death, knowing that you're guilty of things that you have done in the past, and hiding it and make it look because you have the right to judge now, you're going to judge and be like, say, yeah, you're righteous. Come, cast the first stone. You're a sinner. If I mean you say a sinner. So examine your conscience before you say anything more. Done.
Damn right.
And they all run away.
They all run
Because
away.
the conscience was seared with the truth.
Can't. Damn right. Get me Exodus 20 and 8. Sure. Any questions online?
No. Nobody can do it. 125.
So lucky, what's that?
That's one person was online, just greeting. Exodus 20, verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day.
Remember the what?
Remember the Sabbath day.
Shalakia, read on.
To keep it holy.
Okay, so remember the Sabbath day, Moses said. It's separate. It's holy, which it means it's separate. Read on.
Okay, verse 9. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. Verse 10.
Shalakia, hold it there. So, the Sabbath is separate. We know this. It's a holy day. It's a holy convocation given to the children of Israel, you blacks, Hispanics, and native Indians, from our Father, the Most High God. Okay, it's a special day, the Sabbath is. Okay, but here we're going to have a look at how the illustration the example we're going to give you is it's so that you can see in the records of Moses the letter of the law to the spirit of the law. Because if we're to follow some of these fake Israelite groups and keep the letter of the law on the Sabbath, okay, we wouldn't make fire, we wouldn't cook, we wouldn't make our beds, we wouldn't hoover up, we wouldn't tidy our houses, we probably wouldn't wash and bathe. The meaning of the Sabbath is to do no servile work. That means going market and trading. That means going and doing a 10-hour shift on the building site or on the farm and making £200 that day. In them days, maybe 10 shekels for your shift, night shift or day shift. If it was the Sabbath, you're to do no servile work. That doesn't mean you cannot clean your goddamn house. That doesn't mean you can't cook on your stove. Because these fake Israelite groups will tell you, look, you can't make fire on the Sabbath, which means you can't cook, you can't use your microwave, you can't use your washing machine, you can't iron any clothes. So hold on a minute. The Most High God gave us this special day, Mozart. Can you imagine? The Most High God gave us the Sabbath. The Sabbath is for man. Man isn't for the Sabbath. God gave it us as a rest day, a separate, a holy day. And we can do damn near what we want on the Sabbath, as long as we're not trading and making money and doing any servile work according to the records of Moses. And that's why we tell you again and again and again, we have these records for a reason. And these fake Israelite groups that are pushing their narratives on our people, you blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, that makes no sense. You stay in your house on the Sabbath and you don't even want to get out of bed. You think you can't turn the TV on, you can't cut the garden grass, you can't cut the hedge, you can't ignite your car and drive to the shop and buy some food, because there's a spark. When you start your engine, there's a spark, and you fake Israelite groups are teaching our people and our children that you're making fire when you turn the key and ignite the engine. You're creating a spark and a fire, and that's against the law. That's against the Sabbath. What the hell are you talking about? Let's read it. Read on, Baba Kashar Salaki. I'm getting deep into it here.
Verse 10.
Yeah, read start from 8 again. Baba Kashar.
The book of Exodus 20, verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Verse 9. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. Verse 10. But the 7th day is the Sabbath.
Here's the letter of the law. Verse 10. Read it again from the top.
But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord, thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou or thy sons or thy daughters, thy maidservant, nor thy maiden servants, and nor thy cattle, nor thy strangers that is within thy house, within thy gates. Sorry.
Okay, so the letter of the law is to observe the Sabbath and to keep it, not to go to work, not to keep your slavery, not to earn money, not to trade, not to do this, that, and the other. But the Sabbath wasn't made to punish you. The Sabbath wasn't made to punish us. It doesn't mean that you can't cook, turn your cooker on, put a clothes wash on the washing machine, use your microwave, open your fridge, go shopping, start your car engine, drive your car. The Sabbath was made a separate day for us, separate from your slavery, not separate from your servile work, not separate. If you worked for an Israelite, like you might have done in those days, it wasn't slavery, but we call it slavery today for a reason, because we're still in mental bondage. But you get the point. The letter of the law is to keep the Sabbath, to observe it and to keep it, but keep it through the Spirit. Don't keep it through fear. Keep the Sabbath, observe the Sabbath, keep it holy, keep it separate through the Spirit of the law.
That's right.
And through the Spirit of the law, you'll keep it by the letter of the law. That's the bottom line here. This is a separate day. The Sabbath was a blessing. It wasn't a burden. It wasn't a curse. The Sabbath was given to us, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, as a blessing. It's a holy convocation, and we have it 52 times a year. We should be partying and all together and happy and brotherhood and sisterhood and re-te-te. We shouldn't be running and hiding from the Sabbath, staying in bed all day because we think it's the most scariest day of the week. And if we listen to these fake Israelite groups, that's what you do. You won't even get up and draw the curtains or the blinds. You'll stay in bed all day in a dark room. You won't get up, wash your face, brush your teeth, have a bath. You'll just stay in your stinking bed under the sheets all day, minging. That's what you'll do because you're scared to get up and cook some food, go shopping, start your car, use the microwave. It's just nonsense. And like I said, we have these records for a reason. And if you want to know the real breakdown of these scriptures, you come to the ISUPK under the command of General Yohana, and you get the real breakdown of this, of our records through the real priests and prophets of the Most High God. Period. And there's nothing else to it. The Sabbath is a blessing. It's a separate day. It's a separate day to the other 6 days. Okay? And it was a blessing because we'd worked so hard for 6 days. The Most High God wanted us to be rewarded the 7th day, or the rest day, a day that we do something different to the norm, the work, the slavery, the servile work. That's what the Sabbath was given to us for. It was a blessing. It wasn't a curse. Do we all follow this? Do we all get this? Is there any questions? Okay, Matthew 12:1. Baba Kashar, get me that. How long we got left? 10 minutes. I'm getting another couple of precepts, Baba Kashar. Does everybody get the gist of the letter of the law and the spirit of the law? If you still don't get it, if you're still not getting it, type your questions into the stream. If you're still not getting it, hold your hand up in class and let us know. Let us know what it is that you don't understand about the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. Right. Hold on, Baba Kashar. Matthew. Okay. What did I ask for, Mosa?
Matthew 12:1.
12:1. But can't. I remember now. Salakia. My bad. Right, read that when you're ready, Bob.
The book of Matthew 12:1. At that time, Jesus went on the Sabbath day through the corn. Okay,
so at that time, Yahushua went on the Sabbath day through the corn. Okay, so here's another illustration and another example of Christ being tested by the who?
Scribes and Pharisees.
Yeah, by the Pharisees. Read on.
Through the corn, and his disciples were hungered.
So here's Christ about to demonstrate the spirit of the law once again. One of the main reasons he came to teach us the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law, the spirit of the law. Read.
And began to pluck the ears of corn and to eat. Verse 2. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do on the Sabbath day.
Okay, so the Pharisees weren't happy when the apostles, Christ's followers, his men, his immediate clique around him, the disciples, started plucking corn out of the field. The Pharisees said, what's going on? They're not observing the Sabbath. The Sabbath's a rest day, it's a holy day, it's a separate day. Why are they working in the cornfields, plucking corn out of the fields? Let's see how Christ confound these Pharisees again. Read on.
Verse 3. But he said unto them, Have ye not read what David did when he was hungered, and they that were with him? Verse 4.
Okay, hold it there. So Christ is telling the Pharisees here that King David and all King David's men ate what?
Corn.
No, they ate shewbread. Let's read it and we'll get it.
Okay,
Shewbread, just before we read it, shewbread was only for the priests, the Levitical priesthood. King David was a Judite. He wasn't a Levite. He wasn't supposed to eat the shewbread. But what? Do you think God condemned him through the letter of the law? Or do you think King David himself entered into the spirit of the law? Let's read it. Watch.
From Can, verse 4. How he entered into the house of God and did eat the shewbread, which was not lawful for him to eat.
Okay, so here King David ate the shewbread, and that was against the law. Just like the Pharisees are saying Christ's disciples or his apostles are working in the cornfield, plucking corn out of the field, they're not observing the Sabbath. This too is against the law, according to the Pharisees. Let's see what Christ says. Read on.
Neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests. Verse 5. Or have ye not read the law, that on the Sabbath day the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless?
Okay, so King David and his men ate the shewbread when they were hungry, and it was only lawful for the Levite priests to eat the shewbread. Now Christ explains to these coons, yeah, the Pharisees were coons, bro. He explains to these coons that in the spirit of the law, there is no sin when men are doing the work of the Lord. Do you understand this? Okay, if we're doing the work of the Lord, how can we be sinning, Mozart? If I'm teaching, if we're at street camp, okay, and if we're at street camp and it's the Sabbath and we need to take a break for an hour to go and eat or drink, should we not do that?
Yeah.
Because we're teaching?
It wouldn't be unlawful, because you're there, you're gonna get dehydrated, and you're gonna be hungry. So you have to do something to keep up.
Okay, let me give you another scenario. On the Day of Atonement, when we're fasting, an elder in the UPK is dehydrated and it looks like he's not going to make it. Should we give him a drink of water or let him die?
Give him the water. It's not a sin.
The spirit of the law, I wouldn't want to say it overrides the letter of the law, but it certainly enhances the letter of the law, because the Most High God doesn't want you to do things on the Sabbath that are going to hurt you. The Most High God said King David was a man of his own heart. But here we've got King David eating the shewbread, which was allowed only by the priests of the tribe of Levi. So why wasn't King David punished for this?
Because he wasn't breaking the law.
Because should have he let his men die and starve to death? His men were hungry, they needed feeding. They could only get their hands on shewbread. Do you think our Father condemns us for doing his work and keeping ourselves healthy and strong in the same time. This is not a question of breaking the law. When you're doing the work of the Most High God, which King David was doing every day, which Jesus the Christ was doing every day, and his apostles, how the hell can you be in sin or breaking the law whilst you're doing the work of the Lord? The work of the law, the Lord, the Most High God is the only entity that can scrap the law, do away with it, or keep it. Me and you can't do that. We don't have the power to do that. Our job is to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments in the spirit and in the letter of the law and in the spirit of the law. We can't do the law's there. It's there. It's given to us by God through his loyal servant Moses. All our job is to do is observe it and keep it. If God decides tomorrow he wants to do away with the law, that's entirely up to the Most High God. It's not for me and you to question. But certainly here, Christ illustrates and demonstrates that King David was not in sin. He was doing the Most High God's work. And that's why he wasn't punished for eating the shewbread. And neither was Christ's apostles or disciples in sin. They was doing the Lord's work, and on the Sabbath, they was plucking corn out of the field. They was doing no servile work. This was all done in the spirit of the law, what Christ was teaching. And the Pharisees couldn't understand it, and neither could the Pharisees comprehend it.
Can I add something?
Yeah, you got something, Musa.
Because if you read verse 5, it goes down to one of the priests that was supposed to be perfect in keeping the law and know all of the routines of the law. He himself profaned the Sabbath, and he was not punished.
There you go.
There you go. If King David wasn't perfect in keeping the law, just for saying, but the priests who know the routines, he himself profaned the Sabbath and was not punished.
King David committed adultery. He got his best friend murdered in the battlefield to take his wife, and the Most High God forgave him. So what part of the spirit of the law are we not getting?
You see, part that people might stumble in, because the pastor in the church would not understand this.
He'd never get it. Officer Moses said the pastor of the church would never understand this. And you're damn right. He doesn't get it. And that's why he pushes his own narrative. Salaki, was you done?
But don't forget, because the pastor know that tithes was for the Levites, right? He don't want to lose that part of his benefit. So he will also tell you not to keep the law.
Damn right.
But that part of the law, you have to keep in his house. Yeah,
you have to keep the law. Exactly. Yeah, good point. Damn right. And this is what the Pharisees couldn't fathom. They couldn't get. They just couldn't work Christ out. Okay, so where you're doing the work of the Lord, there is no sin. Do we all follow that? This makes you blameless. You blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, the ones that are doing the work of the Lord, the works of the Lord. Yeah, in the ISUPK under commanding General Yahana, the priests and prophets in the UPK. Yeah, you're blameless according to our King, and that's the difference between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. If you are doing the work of the Most High God, you are blameless. You are not in sin. Okay, so you can be plucking the corn out of the field if you're doing the work of the Lord. If you was with King David on this day eating the shewbread, God never condemned King David and his men. God never condemned the Christ's men, the disciples or the apostles, for plucking the corn out of the field. You got something, Moses?
Now you must another point we can bring forward. People who are living far from where Birmingham, right? So just in Birmingham, and we have to travel to here. When you turn on your car or whatever transportation you use, is that breaking the law? How are we gonna get there if we can't drive our
Great point. Good point.
So that would not be breaking the law, because we are doing the work. But by doing the work, we have to travel.
Come on. Last precept, Matthew 23:1, and we'll call it a day because it's 9 o'clock. Salakia.
Okay. The book of Matthew 23, verse 1. Then spake Jesus to the multitude and to the disciples.
Okay, so Christ is speaking to you blacks, Hispanics, and native Indians. And what's he saying? Read.
Saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in the Moses' seat.
What does he mean? Christ is saying the scribes and the Pharisees are responsible for bringing the law. That's what sitting in the seat of Moses is. Moses taught us the law. The Pharisees and scribes are responsible. They're ordained to teach the law. Read.
Verse 3. All therefore whosoever they bid to observe, that observe and do, but do not he after their works.
Okay, so what the Pharisees taught us, we were to observe and do, because it's the law, but never follow their lead. Why? Read on.
For they say and do not.
Okay, why? Because the Pharisees are goddamn hypocrites, just like your Christian pastor. They're hypocrites. Okay, so they teach it and they push the letter of the law, but they would never keep the letter of the law themselves. Do we all follow this? Do we all follow this?
Okay.
What verse are you at there, Moses?
I'm going to verse 4.
Well, no, what verse was that you just read?
Verse 3.
Yeah, read verse 4, Bible for sure.
Verse 4. For they bind heavy burdens.
For they do what?
Bind heavy burdens.
For they bind heavy burdens. Deep down, consider it a burden. They bind heavy burdens. They push their narrative, the letter of the law, on you. That's the heavy burden. Read.
And grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulder, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers.
Okay, so verse 4, for they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders. So they push their narrative. They tell you the letter of the law must be kept or you're going to be stoned to death. The letter of the law must be kept or you're going to be punished. They put that burden on men's shoulders, you blacks, Hispanics, and native Indians. Same way the Christian pastor does up in that Christian church. But guess what? Christ said, this is red letter, you know, this is red writing, this is Christ speaking. Christ says they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. What does that mean? Christ is telling us that the Pharisees are hypocrites. They push their narrative of the letter of the law strict. There's no room for maneuver, but they themselves are going to go home and break the dietary laws, break the civil laws, break the moral laws, and break the ceremonial laws all themselves in the same day, and they won't bat an eyelid why they're doing it. Okay, so I hope you've understood tonight's class. I hope you've got the letter and the spirit of the law. They're not different. Just one's kept in a way where we're taught to love and approach the law with open arms instead of the letter of the law, which we found too strict to keep. If you haven't got tonight's class, we will go into further depth about the letter and the spirit. But I hope you've got a better understanding of the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. So they don't oppose each other. They're not opposites, and they certainly, one doesn't cancel out the other. What Christ brought and taught us, the spirit of the law, was to enhance the letter of the law so that we could keep it. We found it easier to keep. Okay, and with that, I'm going to call the class. Clap it up. Okay, so I'm going to hand the class over to Officer Mozart for the security announcements. There you go.
Okay. This is the security announcement for the ISUPK. Security announcement. We are the ISUPK, started out of 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rules for brother and sister. When a new brother or sister come into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves off the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the ed.
Tomorrow.
The ed to speak to.
Tomorrow.
No, the ed. Get from the ed. To speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 months period, the brother and sister will get permission from the ed to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18 verse 21, Malachi 3 verse 8 to 10. Means tithes in the Hebrew, Mahishara. 10% of every penny of any income the Lord gives you, give to the Treasury Department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming Holy Convocation.
Oh, Salaki, the memorial blowing trumpets, the 21st of September.
Okay. Announce Holy Convocation from sheet. Remind Akim and Akiwa to check the bulletin board in the hallway. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, start by wearing all black. Boots, shirt, pants, headband, and scarf. And with that, say I'm Adiam.
I'm going to give...
sorry. With that, I give the priest one courtesy salute.
Officer
Ariella, one courtesy salute. Officer Hamadiam.
Man of Israel.
Man of Israel, Hamadiam. Hamadiam Shabbat. Hamadiam Barak. Yahaba Shimya Shai Braktham.
Brakatah.
Brakatah.
Yehovah Hashem Yahushai Brakatah.
With that, Hamadiam.
Yad Yemata.
Yazamata.
Class dismissed. In the stream, Mozart, in the stream. Click it again.